Part 48. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 471. With that said, he took the initiative to take the job, turned around, passed through the time and space barrier outside, and walked towards the Everything House. At this time, the deputy chief's voice sounded in Xuanhuan's ears. "I'll be on site within half an hour. If that guy doesn't come, I will personally solve the problem inside." Xuanhuan nodded when he heard this. "Yes, Mr. Deputy Head, we will be vigilant here." After the words fell, the deputy director on the other side of the phone narrowed his eyes. "This is good news. We can just go and deal with him. As long as your contract with the man in black is terminated, I can take action without any fear." Speaking of this, his eyes showed a hint of coldness. A distorted light appeared around him and disappeared into his office in a flash. When he appeared again, he was already in a hotel opposite Wanchaiwu. There was no one in this room at this time, and he looked quietly in the direction of Wanchi House through the floor-to-ceiling windows. His plan was simple. As long as Lin Yi refused, he would immediately kill him and seize the Tianjing. The moment Lin Yi refused, he was no longer a member of the Man in Black. Even if he takes action, he will receive a warning at most, but there will be no consequences for breaking the rules. Being targeted by high-level officials in any world is very dangerous because you don't know what the other party's trap is. At this time, Lin Yi was reading the newspaper in the Everything room, and then flicked the app on his mobile phone to watch the latest world news. Ring ring ring. The welcome bell rang, and Yinswili arrived again, pushing open the door of Wanchaiwu. Looking at the Minister of the Blood Department, Lin Yi felt a little strange. "Mr. Minister, are you here again?" Yinswili came to sit opposite Lin Yi with an expressionless expression. His voice was calm and low as he said, "Let me get straight to the point. There is a big problem in the biology laboratory. The three minister-level officials of the Blood Department, Flower Department, and Black Department did not get very far into the matter personally. After we reported it to the deputy chief, he issued a forced recruitment order. I hope you can go in and investigate, collect specific information, and use your unique abilities." Hearing this, Lin Yi was horrified. When the words Deputy Headquarters Chief came into his ears, he smelled a strong aura of conspiracy. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he put down the mobile phone and newspaper in his hands. Looking at Yinswili, he said slowly, "Did the deputy head of the headquarters say it himself?" Yinswili didn't talk nonsense, nodded directly and said, "Yes, this is an order personally given by the deputy headquarters chief." He used the power of the deputy head of the headquarters to recruit external specialists. "What will happen if you refuse?" Lin Yi looked at Yinswili calmly. Yinswili said in a low voice, "If you refuse, the Man in Black will terminate the employment contract. From now on, you will no longer be an external commissioner, and you will not be protected by Men in Black. Of course, we won't cause trouble for you. After all, we are just a cooperative relationship, and this has not changed." Hearing this, Lin Yi frowned, and he had a question in his mind. Why would the deputy chief issue such an order? He knew I would refuse. This man has always wanted the Tianjing in my hand, but the strange thing is that he has never taken action directly. With his immortal level combat power, if I attack directly, I will never be able to defeat him. But he just instigated the people from the Five Elements sect and had no intention of taking action himself. There must be something wrong here. Suddenly he thought of the purpose of Yinswili's visit this time. I see, I understand what's going on. This guy is trying to disassociate me from black people. Then he can do something to me. The reason why he didn't do anything to me is because I am a member of the imperial system. Even if he is the deputy chief of the Men in Black, he cannot use violence against people within the empire at will. Because this breaks the most basic rules, it is an act that is rejected by the entire imperial system. You can kill with a borrowed knife, you can plot, but you can never use violence directly. This is the basis for the system to maintain its existence. Anyone who violates this rule is equivalent to severing himself from the system. In an instant, Lin Yi figured out all the causes and consequences, and knew what the Deputy General Manager wanted to do. At this time, he began to think about whether he needed to escape from the man in black. According to my current speed, I will be able to break through to the peak of the second level of Ghost Immortal Dao in about half a month. Then it's time to attack the third level of the Ghost Immortal path. Getting the cultivation method of Earth Immortal Dao level, the path to promotion is universal. After this, I can choose to leave the Red Lotus world at any time. After all, the world on the other side seems safe, but there are still strange forces present, and it is possible that it will become unsafe at some point. Without the power to withstand danger, it is not a good thing to rush there. There is no need to fall out with the man in black just yet. You must at least reach the peak of the Ghost Immortal Dao, obtain the Earth Immortal Dao level skills, and even resources before you can leave. We must be fully prepared to travel to the future world. If you don't prepare anything, that's the biggest problem. Thinking of this, a dignified look appeared in his eyes, and the light of the true life path flashed in his eyes, and he quickly looked around. Now that he had seen through the deputy director's trick, he knew what to do next. The other party might attack him after he refused. First, he had to make sure whether the deputy director had arrived nearby. Zhenming Daij's eyes swept around, and soon he saw a dark black hole standing in a hotel not far from the Wanchaiwu. Lin Yi's eyes just swept over and did not stay on the other party for long. But he had confirmed the arrival of the deputy director, and confirmed his guess. In his heart, the deputy director is still a thief, and he has come. This person is too vicious. If I agree to go to the biological laboratory, this person may do something dirty inside. But I have Zhenming Wujiang in my hand. No matter what means you have, no one can stop me from leaving. There is room for maneuver in this regard. It seems that I still have to go. Thinking of this, he breathed a sigh of relief and calmed down. He looked at Yinswili and said, "Since it is the order of the Deputy General Manager, I will accept it. Please wait for me for a moment." Yinswili looked at Lin Yi with some surprise. He didn't expect that the other party would agree this time. He was thinking about something in his heart, and said calmly, "Okay, you can do as you please." Lin Yi returned to his bedroom, took the Tianjing in his hand, and took the two new magic tools he had obtained. The 5 Elements Divine Needle and the 5 Elements Divine Fan. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 472. He put both magic weapons in the bag inside his jacket. After doing this, he turned around and came to the lobby again. He said to Brandy and others, "I'm going out for a trip, which may take some time. You can take care of the store yourself." Brandy also saw the problem and nodded with a solemn expression, "Don't worry, manager, we will make arrangements." Lin Yi and Yinswili left Wanchaiwu. The deputy head of the hotel frowned when he saw this scene. This guy is smart enough not to refuse, but do you think you can escape by agreeing? This matter in the biological laboratory is not trivial. As long as you go in, I won't let you come out again. With a spicy look in his eyes, he naturally knew that a mysterious force field appeared in the laboratory, which could block the detection of any force. Anything that happens in there is possible, and it's the perfect place to get your hands dirty. But Lin Yi didn't know that a danger was approaching him. Thinking of this, the deputy head general's body shone with a distorted light and disappeared in an instant. When he reappeared, he had already arrived outside the closed time and space barrier. His arrival alarmed several masters in charge of this formation. A gap slowly appeared in the space-time barrier in front of him, and the deputy general manager walked in with his hands behind his back. At this time, Lin Yi and Yinswili were also rushing here. About 20 minutes later, they arrived at this area. Lin Yi's eyes shone with the brilliance of the true meaning of life, and he felt a little shocked in his heart. With such a large-scale time and space blockade, it seems that something big has happened. And this blockade goes deep underground. Lin Yi looked down at his feet, penetrating hundreds of meters of rock formations. I saw a multi-story underground building covering an area of several thousand square meters. The place was wrapped in a dark force, which was a strange force. What frightened him the most was that in the depths of this blackness, he saw an even deeper darkness. That darkness was unprecedentedly cold, without any warmth or other brilliance. There was only pure blackness, swallowing everything around like an abyss. Just seeing this thing, Lin Yi instinctively felt a kind of fear. He just glanced at it and quickly moved his eyes away. True life Daija consumed 1/10 of the spiritual wave in this moment. He didn't want to waste spiritual waves casually. After all, he had to face a master of the earthly immortal way and above who always coveted the sky crystal. When he and Yinswili entered the time and space barrier, they saw Madame Rose, Xuanhuan, and the deputy head of the headquarters waiting here. The arrival of the two people immediately attracted their attention. Only the deputy head of the headquarters looked quietly in the direction of the entrance to the laboratory. Inside the time and space barrier is a building of about 10 floors. At this time, the building has been evacuated and there is no one inside. They were all standing at the basement entrance of the building. The elevator connecting the underground biological laboratory was in the underground garage. The deputy head of the headquarters did not look back. He just said calmly, "Now that the people are here, let's get ready to start." Lin Yi stood at the entrance to the basement, and Yinswili next to him was introducing him to the situation here. This is the above-ground building of the biological laboratory, a hotel hidden from view. There is an elevator in this underground garage that leads directly to the underground, but now it has been sealed by a strange object. That weird item is called the infinite spider web. It captures any living being and drains the power out of them, thus increasing its value. If you want to go in, you must first find a way to avoid this infinite spider web. Once this thing is used, it will take 3 days for it to automatically shrink and return to its original shape. So these 3 days are still a safe period, at least on the ground. Below the ground is a biological laboratory. This is the general situation inside. As he spoke, he took out a tablet computer, which displayed a 3-dimensional structural diagram of the basement. This is the general structure of an underground biological laboratory. You can use it to search. Lin Yi took the tablet handed over by Yinswili, and his eyes casually glanced at the deputy chief. The other party didn't seem to be interested in talking to him at all. He was completely cold and didn't take him seriously. Lin Yi's eyes showed a faint cold light. "It's not that easy to kill me. You have to pay something." Thinking of this, he looked at Yinswili and said, "Then let's make it clear first, what is the specific content of my mission?" Just as Yinswili was about to speak, the deputy head of the headquarters at the side spoke. "Your mission is to find out the truth of the entire incident and what happened in the biological laboratory. At the same time, we will investigate the current situation and make a report. Your power is very unique, and you have the ability to ignore attacks to a certain extent. You are very suitable for this exploration work." When Lin Yi heard this, a smile appeared on his lips. "I have no objection to the content of the mission. But there is one thing I want to make clear. I can go down and investigate, but it's impossible to expect me to get much results. Because my abilities also have limits. After all, I am just a ghost and immortal person. Also, to do such dangerous things, you must be paid enough. Even if it is forced recruitment, this cannot be omitted. If the Empire cannot offer me a satisfactory remuneration, according to the contract, you have no right to terminate the contract." Hearing Lin Yi's words, the deputy general manager frowned. He can indeed force Lin Yi to sign according to the rules, and he can also use his own rights to recruit. But there is one thing he must abide by, that is, the contract signed with Lin Yi. It specifies in detail the responsibilities and obligations, as well as the remuneration they must pay. If the empire does not pay enough, the other party has the right to refuse forced recruitment, and the black-clothed man cannot terminate the contract. Because the contract is protected by the laws of the entire empire. Although the black-clothed man is a special department, it is also subject to the laws of the Red Lotus Empire, and even the deputy general manager cannot violate it. Especially in this special era, the changes in the world have brought about huge changes. Then the empire will definitely make every effort to ensure the fairness of the law, which is the cornerstone of the stable empire system, and no one can shake it. The current situation is in a chaotic world. Although everything looks calm on the surface, there are undercurrents underneath. If the empire wants to maintain its existence and orthodoxy, it must ensure that some basic rules must not be shaken. Otherwise, a single move will affect the entire body, which will inevitably cause chaos in the entire system, and no one can bear such consequences. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 473. As the Deputy General Manager of the high-level black-clad men in the Empire, he naturally knows more about the problem. If it was in the past, this kind of problem would be easy to solve, but in the current era, it is difficult to solve. Because the Empire has external enemies. After thinking for a while, he said directly, "What do you want?" Lin Yi smiled faintly, "Going down will be life-threatening. To investigate everything, I also need to pay a considerable price, and I may even die if I don't do it well. What I want is also very simple, the Earth Immortal level skill Mighty King Kong, and the pill that can increase the success rate of impacting the Earth Immortal level, a Earth Spirit pill." Everyone was shocked when they heard the conditions proposed by Lin Yi. Seeing Lin Yi's lion mouth, whether it was Madame Rose, Xuanhuan, or Yinswili, their pupils shrank. Hearing Lin Yi's request, the Deputy General Manager was also surprised. He didn't expect Lin Yi to dare to ask so much. He turned his head and looked at Lin Yi, with a sneer on his lips, "If you want to get this reward, you must complete the 2 items just now. First, find out the truth of the whole thing, and second, find out what the current situation is. One more thing, you must find a way and how to solve the current situation. If you can't complete the above 3 items, you can't get everything. If you complete the first 2 items, I can give you Vajra, and only if you complete the 3rd item, you can get everything. A sky-high price, but you pay it back." A confident smile appeared on Lin Yi's face. "Okay, I can accept this condition." The Deputy General Manager looked at Lin Yi, with a cold light in his eyes. "Since you accept it, then go down, we are waiting for your good news upstairs." Lin Yi didn't answer when he heard it, and walked directly into the underground parking garage under the gaze of everyone. Looking at Lin Yi's back disappearing in the underground parking garage, the Deputy General Manager showed a hint of appreciation in his eyes. This guy is really skilled and bold, and he has enough ability. He can deal with the peak-level master of the 5 elements sect Ghost Immortal Deo. This strength is not weak. If you hadn't held the heavenly crystal and refused to let go, maybe I would really cultivate you. The heavenly crystal is related to the path, I must get it. What a pity for such a talent." The admiration in his eyes instantly turned cold, without any personal feelings, and his self-control ability reached the extreme. A faint black light flashed in his eyes, and murderous intent was everywhere. His eyes, which saw through all the obstacles, were always locked on Lin Yi. One of the reasons why he wanted Lin Yi to take action was to see what kind of trump cards this person had hidden. Know yourself and know the enemy, and you will never be defeated in 100 battles. The truth is also universal in this world. For a person who can rely on the first level of Ghost Immortal Deo to defeat the peak of Ghost Immortal Deo, he will naturally not take it lightly or be careless. He will find out all of Lin Yi's trump cards, and then let him go to death without any resistance. One of the reasons why the deputy director of the headquarters can reach his current position is that he likes to use wisdom to solve the enemy. When he really wants to take action, he must be 100% sure. Lin Yi's innate ability has been fully activated at this time. He feels all the fluctuations around him, and the 3-meter radius has become his domain. Soon he came to an area covered by spider webs. The light of the true destiny can see the essence of these things at a glance. The dark and strange power exudes an inexplicable coldness. Lin Yi came to a few meters in front of the entrance, looking at the open elevator door. The light of the true destiny flickered. In an instant, he passed through the blockade of these spider webs as if he didn't exist, and came straight to the elevator door. Looking down at the depths of the elevator, it was densely packed, and the network blocked every inch of the space in the passage. It was almost impossible to rush out from it. Taking a step, Lin Yi fell down along the elevator corridor like a missile. His speed was very fast, and he reached the bottom of the elevator corridor in less than a minute. Standing at the elevator entrance, his eyes saw the passage filled with spider webs. At this time, the passage was dim and there was no light. But all this could not stop his eyes. Here, everything was as clear as day. Countless strange powers filled every corner of this area. Lin Yi quickly passed through the passage of dozens of meters blocked by spider webs and came to an empty passage with nothing. He stood here, and the power of true destiny was temporarily withdrawn. Continuously maintaining true destiny will consume energy. In such an unknown place, he needs to maintain the peak state of power. At this time, he has opened his innate ability. Covering an area of 3 meters in radius, any danger will make him avoid it spontaneously. Along the passage, he began to move forward slowly. Every time he moved forward a distance, he would see some rooms with open doors. Most of the doors of these rooms were forcibly destroyed. Along the way, he found that there were many passages here and many forks along the way. Lin Yi held a tablet in his hand, watching the 3-dimensional graphics and determining his position. He had been walking along the main passage and did not enter these forks. His eyes were shining with the light of his true destiny, and he was observing the place where the strange power was the densest. Soon he came to a gate that had been punched through. There are sharp cuts on this gate, which just form a door for people to enter. Lin Yi looked at the incision and could probably tell that it was made by some kind of sharp weapon. The incision was very smooth without any unevenness. The ones who were originally sent down? It looks like they went further inside. After passing through the gate, Lin Yi frowned slightly when he saw the world behind the gate. I don't know when it was filled with some black biological tissue. These biological tissues beat slowly like blood vessels, adhering to the ceiling, floor, and walls. Lin Yi's eyes glanced over, and he immediately knew that these things were all made of strange power. At this time, these vascular biological tissues are absorbing the materials that make up the walls and ceiling, converting them into the same biological tissues. Hey guys, the entire base seems to be being transformed into some kind of biological structure. This looks too scary. Thinking of this, his eyes showed a trace of solemnity. He felt that this biological laboratory was changing into some unknown situation. He couldn't help but think of the huge and strange existence that he had seen in his own Wanqi house, rushing past the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Wanqi house. The house of everything I created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 474. If a strange existence of that level appeared in Honglian City, what would be the result? He felt terrified just thinking about it. Once it appeared, the entire Honglian City would be reduced to ruins in an instant. For the first time, he felt a huge pressure in his heart, and he was afraid of this constantly mutating transcendence. He continued to walk along the map in the tablet computer towards the central area of the laboratory. That was the core of the entire biological laboratory. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow dot. Almost all experiments were conducted there. And from there were various office and testing rooms in a circle, all of which were engaged in secondary research, not dangerous research. Through the True Destiny solution, he could determine that all the problems originated from that core area. Walking on the ground covered with black biological tissues, a soft and sticky feeling came from the soles of his feet, which made him feel sick. And these black flesh and blood tissues all emitted a strange weak force field. This force field directly enveloped him, causing him to have an inexplicable negative emotion. In between, he could feel a negative emotion constantly churning in his mind, as if trying to make some changes in his mind. However, the light of the divine jade lotus had risen, illuminating his spiritual level, sweeping away all the negative emotions in his heart. Has a spiritual negative field formed here, which can produce inner demons? After feeling the power that permeated here, Lin Yi couldn't help but be surprised. This place is becoming more and more like a huge nest, turning into another world. At this time, he walked only 10 meters in this passage full of biological tissues, and several black tentacles suddenly shot out from all directions. Lin Yi immediately sensed the danger, and his feet flashed, easily avoiding the attack of these tentacles. A 5-colored needle flew out of his arms and instantly flew towards the roots of these tentacles. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The sharp sound of breaking through the air with colorful light instantly destroyed all the roots of these tentacles. After losing their roots, these tentacles quickly fell to the ground, then twitched continuously, then quickly decomposed, and finally merged into the biological tissues on the ground. At this time, the destroyed root position began to grow a few thin tentacles. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi narrowed his eyes slightly, moved forward quickly, and quickly left here. At this time, various strange tentacles continued to appear in the entire passage, attacking Lin Yi and blocking him from moving forward. However, Lin Yi was like a hunter who knew the future, and no attack could fall on him. He could always avoid these attacks in advance the moment they arrived in front of him, avoiding various attacks with the smallest movement. He continued to move forward along the passage. The deeper he went into the passage, the more he could feel the black biological tissues on the ground, ceiling, and walls. When he moved forward hundreds of meters again, another gate appeared in front of him. At this time, a pair of dark eyes appeared in the gate, filled with coldness and murderous intent. A 3-meter-tall humanoid strange existence with holes all over his body drilled out from it. 2 arms dropped, 10 slender fingers like sickles. He squatted suddenly, then jumped out instantly, and rushed towards Lin Yi. Its speed was very fast, bringing a huge wave of air, which was infinitely close to the speed of sound, completely beyond the human limit of the human body at the level of human immortals. You must know that the body of the human immortal, no matter how gifted it is, there are many things that cannot be done. For example, they cannot break the speed of sound limit by simply relying on the body. But the reflex nerve speed of the human body is very fast, and even attacks at the speed of sound can be avoided. Especially at the level of ghost immortals, the mind controls the body, just like controlling a game, which is 10 times faster than the nerve reaction speed, and any attack can be predicted to a certain extent. And Lin Yi is even more terrifying. Before the monster arrived, he had already shaken his feet and avoided the opponent's frontal impact. The talent ability has been activated. But the strange existence suddenly stretched out a claw and grabbed Lin Yi's head that was avoiding it. Although Lin Yi avoided its frontal impact. But this strange existence seems to have rich combat experience. Still changing his moves in mid-air, he made a fatal attack. But at this time, Lin Yi seemed to have foreseen everything in advance, and he bent down slightly to avoid the attack. At the same time, he raised his right hand, and the destruction cane had silently blocked the path of this strange being. The power of the extinguishing cane instantly split this strange being in two halves. Boom! This strange being broke into two parts without any resistance, and the two parts of the body directly hit the ground under the force of inertia. The huge impact knocked a pit into the biological tissue on the ground. At this time, Lin Yi took a step forward, swept the destruction cane, and split this strange being in two halves from the head. The power of destruction spread to his body, and it was visible to the naked eye that it broke into pieces and turned into flying ash. A wisp of strange power was sucked into Lin Yi's body. A lotus handprint was lit up, and Lin Yi's eyebrows jumped. Huh, a good harvest. The being that attacked him, purely in terms of combat power, has completely reached the peak level of the human immortal path. At this time, 15 lotus handprints in his body have been lit up, and there are still 93 to 108. Maybe I can get a lot today. With a hint of joy in his eyes, Lin Yi is looking forward to the next exploration. Perhaps there will be more strange beings to provide him with food. At this moment, Lin Yi suddenly frowned, and dense footsteps and strange roars came from the passage where the strange beings rushed over. Tisk tisk. Cough cough. Chi chi. These strange sounds came one after another, coming towards the direction where he was. Just listening to the sound, there must be a lot of them. Lin Yi's eyes showed a trace of solemnity. It seems that there will be a big battle next. A cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, but I like it. The next second, more than 20 strange beings of the same appearance filed out from the corner of the passage in front. One of them was 4 meters tall, with a pair of 2-meter-long wings on its back. The wings were covered with countless patterns, as if 2 black eyes were staring at everything. Seeing this monster, Lin Yi couldn't help but frown. This kind of monster with wings and eye patterns on them is usually not simple. Those eyes are not just for show, maybe there is some unknown means. At this time, more than a dozen strange beings stared at Lin Yi and then attacked him. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 475. They are very fast. More than a dozen huge shadows and air currents covered the entire passage, leaving no room for escape. Lin Yi's talent also told him that he now had only one choice, which was to retreat and leave. But he would also face danger if he retreated, and he could not completely avoid the oncoming crisis. Talent is not omnipotent, it can only predict and dodge, but cannot complete the impossible dodge. For example, the current attack that is completely blocked and has no gaps can only be resisted, not avoided. In the moment of crisis, Lin Yi directly opened his true destiny without boundaries, and did not intend to resist. More than a dozen strange beings instantly passed through Lin Yi, and more than a dozen sharp claws swept through him, but did not leave any scars. At this time, at the moment they passed through Lin Yi's body, he turned around and killed them with the cane of destruction in his hand. The powerful power of destruction instantly swept over the heads of the 3 strange beings closest to him. The power of destruction shattered everything and directly decapitated the 3 strange beings from the back of the head. Bang, bang, bang. With dense collisions, their bodies fell to the ground and soon turned into ashes under the power of destruction. At this time, Lin Yi did not stop, and chased after him in a flash. Stab, withdraw, sweep, move. At this time, Lin Yi was like a killing ghost. No attack could touch him, but all the weird beings attacked by him would be split in half in an instant. No power could resist the destructiveness of the cane of destruction, even if they were also weird beings. Especially these weird beings, all of which have strong material structures and do not have many energy-based attack and defense methods. Facing the pure destructive energy damage of the power of destruction, they have even less resistance. In less than 10 breaths, a total of 19 weird beings all fell under Lin Yi's cane of destruction. Only the strongest weird being did not care about the death of his men at all. It just watched all of Lin Yi's attacks quietly, and only after all of its men were dead did it slowly step towards Lin Yi. At this time, its two wings had been spread, and each wing had an eye-like pattern on it. Waves of strange fluctuations spread out from its wings, filling the passage of dozens of meters in front and behind. Lin Yi instantly felt this mysterious fluctuation, and a strange force field enveloped his spiritual level. Fear, sadness, anger, worry, happiness, and countless emotions spread out from the bottom of his heart, instantly sweeping all his souls. Emotions came too fast, like a surging river, and it was impossible to resist. In an instant, Lin Yi lost his mind and was completely overwhelmed by these countless emotions. He even forgot the current situation. But this situation did not last long, only 1 second. The divine jade lotus that enveloped the soul bloomed with a wonderful light, resisting and calming the countless emotional fluctuations in his heart. And Lin Yi also took back the autonomy of his body, and his consciousness also returned to normal at the same time. But all this was just the beginning. Waves of strange force fields appeared out of thin air in his spiritual world. This force field mobilized his emotions anytime and anywhere. Even with the suppression of the divine jade lotus, he had to divide his energy at all times to awaken himself. Because as long as he was distracted for a moment, he would be overwhelmed by emotions again. Although he would be rescued by the power of the god and the lotus in the next moment, this second of delay was enough to cause death. The vigilance in his heart reached its peak in an instant, and Lin Yi looked at the other party. While suppressing the surge of emotions in his heart, he approached the other party cautiously. This monster was 4 meters tall, and the wings behind it were about 1.2 meters on each side, and the two sides added up to more than 2 meters. The entire passage was only 5 meters high and wide, about 4 meters. It completely closed the passage alone, leaving no gap. Seeing that Lin Yi seemed to be unaffected by himself, the strange existence continued to approach him, and a trace of black fluctuations flashed in his cold eyes. The two claws drooped slightly, and a black glow emerged from their claws. The wings behind it moved slightly, and in an instant it crossed a distance of several meters and arrived in front of Lin Yi. The claws full of power slapped Lin Yi's head, and the huge force even tore the speed of sound. This was the first time Lin Yi saw a pure creature that could tear the speed of sound. Although this was a strange existence, its body had reached a new level. Rumble. The huge sound echoed in the tunnel. A pit with a diameter of 1 meter appeared on the ground. The monster's attack missed, and still did not cause any damage to Lin Yi. Even Lin Yi's feet and the monster's claws overlapped. The destruction cane had already fallen silently towards the top of the monster's head, without any wind sound. It was such a quiet attack. But this strange existence seemed to be very sensitive to danger. The wings behind him trembled at this moment, and the next moment, he had retreated 3 meters away, avoiding Lin Yi's attack. But Lin Yi would not let him get away, and he moved the moment the other party moved. True destiny is boundless, and cannot be touched by any material, and naturally there is no resistance from the air. His speed was full, also infinitely close to the speed of sound, just like light propagating in a vacuum. His speed of movement would never decline, and would maintain the initial speed. And in this process, he could continue to accelerate. If he really needed to, he could even increase his speed infinitely. This was a feature he had discovered after using True Destiny Boundless. The destruction cane followed the monster closely, always only 10 centimeters away from it. At this time, the monster saw the destruction cane coming towards his forehead, and waved his hand to smash it. But its attack went straight through the destruction cane, and it could not stop the attack of the destruction cane at all. The wings flapped slightly again, and retreated to the back at a high speed. At the same time, more strange power rushed into the wings. The strange force field that originally aroused the emotions of the mind suddenly surged. Lin Yi's body froze in pursuit, and he couldn't help but stop. But the next moment he woke up again, and he could feel that the force field covering the spiritual level was getting stronger and stronger. The light of the lotus divine jade seemed to be suppressed. He knew that he could not continue like this, otherwise it would lead to irreparable consequences. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yi's eyes flashed with a cold light. He knew that he could not continue like this. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 476. The next moment, the spiritual wave was injected into the space-time canvas. Lin Yi disappeared from the monster's face, and when he appeared again, he was already behind the monster. The destruction cane had already silently stabbed at the monster's back. At this time, the monster was retreating violently, and it rushed towards the destruction cane head-on. Without any surprise, it directly hit the destruction cane. The terrifying power of destruction burst out in an instant and spread towards the body of this strange existence. In just 2 seconds, the whole body of this strange existence turned gray. Then it collapsed like sand. The pure strange power was sucked into Lin Yi's body. At this time, the fourth lotus handprint in his body had been lit up for a total of 33 times. Feeling the changes in the lotus handprint, Lin Yi was very satisfied. If it follows this progress, it won't be long before the fourth set of handprints will be complete. After dealing with this wave of monsters, Lin Yi continued to move forward towards the passage. A red 1,000 paper cranes flew into the range of the passage at some point. It danced like a little red elf, constantly flying in this strange and solemn passage. It didn't know how many strange beings it encountered on the way. It passed through the passage full of strange tentacles and did not encounter any attacks. Everything looked so magical, as if it did not exist. And at this time, a figure was walking towards it in the direction it was moving. Lin Yi held the destruction cane in his hand, and his body kept dodging the tentacles attacking from all sides with tiny movements. At the same time, he waved the destruction cane and cut off these tentacles one by one to avoid continuous attacks. After fighting all the way and consuming his spiritual waves, he still had about 70% of his energy and 80% of his spiritual waves. Feeling the changes in his body, his eyes fell on an office next to the passage. There were relatively few tentacles inside, only a few, and they could be easily dealt with. After thinking about it, he walked in, and with a few vertical and horizontal movements of the cane in his hand, he cut off all the tentacles here. At the same time, the destruction cane stabbed at the strange organizations on the wall. These strange organizations quickly turned gray under the power of destruction, and finally turned into ashes. Each stab, the power of the destruction cane covered an area of about 3 meters in radius. After several times, there was no strange biological organization in the whole room, and it became a temporarily safe room. And Lin Yi slowly sat cross-legged on the ground and began to quickly recover his consumption. In this unknown place, he could feel that there was something terrifying in front of him. He needed to keep himself in peak condition at all times. And through the battle with the group of strange beings just now, he found that his true destiny was still weak. The weakness on the spiritual level was not strong enough. Once faced with extremely powerful spiritual attacks, he might be seriously injured or even killed. He can now ignore these attacks, relying entirely on the power of the divine jade lotus. As for the Aquarius seal of the Great Power Vajra seal method, it can no longer provide him with much spiritual protection. As for the sky crystal, its main function is to repair the damage he suffered, rather than timely defense. Sure enough, fighting is the best way to test one's own ability. My spiritual level is still too fragile, this problem is fundamentally fragile. Only when I step into the peak state of the third level of the Ghost Immortal Deo can I solve this problem. Or find some wonderful method to make the spirit invincible, just like the boundless true destiny, ignoring all physical and energy attacks. Thinking of this, he suddenly thought about something. Currently, I have obtained 3 kinds of true destiny, each with unique characteristics. The true destiny explanation and the true destiny route seem to be related to understanding and controlling all the principles, materials, and energy in the world, visible and invisible. And the boundless true destiny ignores the constraints of energy and matter on the human body. Then what will the 4th seal method be? Is it the relevant power on the spiritual level? This true destiny, no matter how you look at it, seems to be making me move towards the direction of breaking free from all constraints. In other words, the goal of the Yilingjing is to get rid of all constraints and gain freedom. The sudden realization made Lin Yi a little surprised, but he soon put aside his thoughts. Forget it, it's useless to think about it now anyway. When the 4th lotus seal is completed, I can verify whether my idea is correct. If everything is really as I guessed, then this Yilingjing is really amazing. Freedom is something that countless people and countless lives desire. But who can really get rid of the shackles? No one has ever been able to do it. Life is bound by the species from birth, and at the same time by the instincts of eating, sleeping, and procreation. Humans are also bound by money. Even these practitioners will be bound by various resources, obligations, and sex and cannot escape. If you want to really get rid of all the shackles, you must do a few things. Self-sufficiency, immortality, and proving the truth with force. If you can't do these 4 things, it's all nonsense, just wishful thinking. First of all, self-sufficiency means getting rid of dependence on all external resources. It is precisely because humans rely on external resources that they must form systems and groups to survive. When a person no longer has any needs for the outside world, he no longer needs to rely on society to live. To live forever, a person must have eternal youth, maintain a perfect body, and not age, so that he can enjoy the happiness of self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency is meaningful. If there is no death or destruction, all organisms will be destroyed. Once destroyed, all self-sufficiency and immortality are illusory and meaningless. Only by getting rid of all the bondages of death and destruction can be enjoyed in the first 2 points. The last one, proving the truth with strength, does not mean that the strength is so strong that it can control the world and so on. Proving the truth with strength means being in a peculiar state, so that no one and nothing can interfere with everything about oneself, such as the state of mind, the state of body, etc., and being in a state of freedom and autonomy forever. And this state is a necessary condition for enjoying the first 3 points. Only after these 4 conditions are met can a person be truly in a free and unfettered state, because he can break free from all the bondage and not be affected by any external factors. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 477. Even if the world is destroyed, the heaven and earth collapse, and relatives die, it cannot affect this person's state. He is in a pure eternal state and will never change. This is true freedom. Freedom, countless people are longing for it, but no one has ever really understood its meaning. Freedom. How difficult it is. It's good to be able to obtain freedom relative to most people in the world. After thinking about it, Lin Yi sighed. At this time, the spiritual waves in his body have almost recovered. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. The situation of Smoke Ji. When he was about to stand up and continue to explore, he suddenly frowned. At some point, a red paper crane flew into the room. The paper cranes revolved around Lin Yi's head, as if waiting for him to wake up. When Lin Yi's eyes noticed him, it seemed to sense Lin Yi's awakening and gently flew in front of Lin Yi. Lin Yi's eyes showed a trace of surprise, looking at the 1,000 paper cranes flying in front of him. What is this? The light of the true destiny in his eyes flashed, and he immediately saw through the 1,000 paper cranes. A piece of blood-red paper, densely written with words, folded into paper cranes. It is in a wonderful time and space level, and the red light flashing on the periphery is the root of its ability to enter this wonderful time and space level. Lin Yi slowly raised his hand, and the 1,000 paper cranes lightly fell into his palm. Then a wonderful scene happened, an illusory human shadow appeared on the 1,000 paper cranes. This shadow is exactly the appearance of Lei Kongtong. He looked in the direction of Lin Yi, as if staring at him. "Hello, stranger. Although I don't know who you are, please listen to what I say next. I am the director of the Empire's highest biological laboratory, Dr. Lei Kongtong. A fifth-level strange existence has appeared under the laboratory. The other party has connected to the other world and is constantly mobilizing the power of the other world to enter. After receiving the news, report to the top level of the Red Alliance Empire immediately. The highest level of power must be dispatched to suppress him immediately. This fifth-level strange existence is still in the state of adapting to the Red Lotus world and can only exist temporarily in the nest built in this strange place. Its existence is still unstable. As long as it is interrupted, it will be sent back to the other world. Or taking this opportunity to kill it is also possible. The following is the detailed situation I recorded." As Dr. Lei Kongtong's voice fell, his illusion suddenly changed. A laboratory appeared in Lin Yi's eyes. A group of dark eggs appeared in the laboratory, and countless black liquids were spreading out of the eggs. The egg was covered with dense and tiny holes, and a strange existence could be vaguely seen inside. There seemed to be a hole on the top of the strange existence's head, and liquid was dripping continuously. Just seeing this scene, Lin Yi felt a fear from the bottom of his heart, and his breathing paused for a moment. The feeling of death permeated every part of his body, and he was trembling all over. At this time, this strange existence in the projection seemed to have noticed his gaze. A pair of dark eyes looked at Lin Yi through the image emitted by the 1,000 paper cranes. In an instant, Lin Yi's head shook violently, as if he was hit by a heavy hammer, and his eyes were blood red. This is a phenomenon called red vision. When a large amount of blood gathers to the brain, the retina will turn red, and everything you see will be covered with a layer of red light and shadow. Obviously he was attacked, and the result was that his blood gathered to the brain uncontrollably. A feeling of extreme danger enveloped his mind, and the most terrifying thing was that he seemed unable to control his body now. Waves of shocks on the spiritual level prevented his will from reaching his body. And at this moment, his talent saved his life. The trembling from his instinct made him fall backwards and escape from the sight of the phantom. His body shook, and he regained consciousness in an instant and regained control of his body. At this time, his spiritual level was still shaking. His swallowing thief and corpse dog souls were affected by the huge shock wave and became a phantom wave. This made his face pale and his head felt uncomfortable and wanted to vomit. At this time, a ray of wonderful energy diffused from his cells and quickly enveloped his whole body. The feeling of nausea quickly subsided, the red vision quickly disappeared, and the shock of the spiritual world also recovered in an instant. It was not until this time that he slowly breathed a sigh of relief. It was too dangerous just now, and he almost died. What on earth is this thing? Just the image of this recorded video can cause me such a severe injury. This is a direct attack on the mind, and it can even affect the physical level. And the most terrifying thing is that this should be just a recorded video, but I feel like I have seen a real monster. Could it be that the recorded monster can find out who is watching it through this video? And then launch a mental attack from a distance? What kind of ability is this? Just thinking about this, Lin Yi felt a little scared. And this fear spread quickly in his mind like a virus. His whole body was shaking, and every muscle became uncontrollable, shaking like a quail. Fear constantly emerged in his mind with various horrible images. What would happen if he didn't hold on in the impact just now? Lin Yi felt the changes in his spiritual level and body, and immediately knew that it was the work of the inner demon. The divine jade lotus instantly bloomed with infinite brilliance, suppressing the spread and growth of fear. With the power of the divine jade lotus, All fears slowly disappeared. Exhaling deeply, Lin Yi's eyes slightly looked at the 1,000 paper cranes. It was still floating there quietly, and there was still an illusory picture on its back. In the strange darkness, a pair of dark eyes stared at him, but at this time, these eyes seemed to have lost their power just now. But Lin Yi didn't dare to look at it any more. What he noticed was that there was a dark hole above the head of these eyes. Countless black liquids were falling from it, which seemed to be what Lei Kongtong said, the gap connecting the other world. What attracted his attention the most at this moment was that there was a black octagonal crystal in the hole, which was flashing a deep and dark light. The crystal was very hidden and looked only the size of a thumb. But the light it emitted seemed to maintain the existence of the black hole. What is that? It seems to have the power to open time and space. The house of everything I created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 478. The illusory picture began to tremble, and the picture of the strange existence quickly disappeared, turning into the appearance of Dr. Lei Kongtong. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow Diamond Suit. You have seen the deepest part of the biological laboratory. Immediately take this 1,000 paper cranes and report this matter to the Imperial Public Agency. We must let the Empire's senior officials see this thing, otherwise the entire Red Lotus City will face catastrophe. The existence of the 5th level must not let it happen. The screen disappeared, and the red paper crane slowly fell to the ground. Lin Yi walked over and took the paper crane in his hand, his eyes shining with thought. The deputy chief outside is always staring at Tianjing, and the things down here are also very dangerous. Is it possible to use this thing to keep the deputy chief here? Lin Yi thought for a while, and then couldn't help but shook his head. The probability of success is low. The deputy head of the headquarters is a smart person and will never take action easily unless there is a bait that he cannot refuse. But I don't know much about this person. Even if I want to make plans, I don't have the information or where to start. Now I have two options to choose from. First, take the 1,000 paper cranes back and return to life. Second, go down and take a look in person, collect some useful information, and see if it's possible to set up a trap, and then go back with Kanzai to resume his life. What will happen if I go up with the paper crane? The deputy head of the headquarters asked me to come here. It's definitely not so easy to let me go. If my guess is right, he will definitely let me lead the way down with him to solve the trouble here. He will definitely not take action on the way down, but when he and the monster officially start fighting. Or it will be hard to tell when the monster is solved. There's something strange about the mysterious crystal floating above this monster's head. Maybe it's some kind of weird object. It looks like it can open the way to another world. If I can get this thing in my hands. Putting it in the everything room, I don't know what kind of effects and changes it can produce. And this thing may be used as bait to lure the deputy headquarters into a fight with this monster. Thinking of this, Lin Yi made a decision in his heart. He slowly stood up from the ground, and all his conditions had returned to their peak. He looked at the surrounding walls. At this time, black biological tissue began to grow on these walls again, slowly recovering the places he destroyed. With a hint of disgust in his eyes, Lin Yi walked out of the room and began to walk deeper into the biology laboratory. The red paper crane has been carried in his arms, which will be the best evidence later. After advancing a few dozen meters again, he encountered the second wave of strange beings. But they died in Lin Yi's hands without accident. His talent allowed him to dance on the tip of a knife, using his true life to calmly avoid all attacks. The cane of destruction gives him unparalleled lethality. Kill one strange being after another on the spot. At this time, the lotus handprint in his body lit up 36 times, reaching 1/3. Looking at the ashes on the ground, a thought flashed through Lin Yi's mind. There seem to be a lot of weird existences here. Maybe I should complete the 4th Mudra. In this case, my chances of winning may be better. The danger of the deputy minister has always been stuck in his throat, causing Lin Yi a second time of trouble. But facing a being more powerful than himself, Lin Yi didn't have many countermeasures. And he had already had a premonition that this person would probably attack him this time. It would not be surprising if anything happened in this dangerous biochemical laboratory. As long as he died without evidence, there was nothing anyone could do. It was precisely because of this intense crisis that he began to think about how to deal with this guy. Although he was not sure how powerful the existence of Earth Immortal Deo was. But if he could complete the fourth path of true destiny, he had a hunch that it would bring huge changes to him. Lin Yi slowly continued to move forward in the tunnel. He even consciously made various noises to attract strange beings to appear. After dealing with each wave of strange existences, he would enter a room, use the cane of destruction to clean up the strange organizations, and then start to rest. Always maintain your strength at its peak and never put yourself in any dangerous state. Lin Yi spent several hours moving forward cautiously and step by step. The four deputy chiefs on the ground, Mrs. Rose, Yinswili, and Xuanhuan, all had a hint of impatience in their eyes. Because Lin Yi had been down there for so long, there was no sign of any movement for several hours. Although the underground biological laboratory is large, at their speed, they can visit every place in half an hour. But Lin Yi had been gone for a few hours, which was somewhat beyond their expectations. Mrs. Rose frowned and said, "Is this person dead?" Yinswili said with an uncertain look on his face, "Probably not. Didn't you say that he has a mysterious power that prevents him from being harmed? Then if he wants to leave, no one should be able to stop him." Xuanhuan on the side sneered and said, "There is no absolutely invincible power in this world. Maybe those strange beings below have something or ability to restrain him, and he died in the end." Listening to the three people's words, the deputy general frowned. This man is not so easy to die. He must be doing something. Keep waiting, I don't believe he won't come out. Hearing the deputy general speak, the three of them stopped discussing. Just with a little vigilance, looking in the direction of the underground garage entrance, I don't know what he was thinking. At this time, many thoughts flashed through the deputy general's mind. What on earth is this guy doing? It took him so long to kill a top master of the Ghost Immortal Deo. He definitely won't die so easily. I'm afraid he has seen through the reason why I mobilized him. Is he looking for some way to avoid my killing intent? Or maybe he's using the ostrich policy, wanting me to go in and find him, and then let me get into danger inside. As long as I die, he can get rid of me. In that case, I have to be careful. Don't capsize in the gutter, this guy is too mysterious. A hint of cold light flashed in the deputy director's eyes. He was able to climb to this position by being cautious. He will never have any impulse. He will only take action himself when he is 100% sure. If you want to win a challenge beyond your level, you can only rely on your opponent's mistakes. As long as I am alert to every move you make, you will never be able to make me make a mistake. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 479. Countless years flashed through his mind, and the deputy general manager calmly waited for Lin Yi's return. At this time, deep underground, Lin Yi dealt with the full 5 waves of strange existences in the biological laboratory. The number and quality of strange existences here are very high. Each one is at the level of human immortals, and there are also 5 ghost immortals. But none of these existences are Lin Yi's opponents. With the cooperation of his boundless true destiny, the cane of destruction and his talent, he killed them all without any injury. At this time, the fourth lotus handprint in Lin Yi's body finally lit up 108. In this underground biological laboratory, he completed the fourth seal. The next moment, the handprint began to change rapidly, and a lotus seed grew out of it. As the lotus seed grew out, the lotus handprint shattered in an instant. It turned into 108 handprint brilliances, covering all areas on the surface of the lotus seed. Then this lotus seed turned into brilliance and rushed into the spiritual wave sphere composed of Lin Yi's other three true destinies. As the fourth true destiny rushed in, the spiritual wave sphere burst into a hazy green glow, covering the sphere like mist. At this time, the spiritual waves in the sphere grew at an astonishing speed, and the four true destinies began to rebuild the balance. They were like interacting planets, rotating around, forming the sphere of the spiritual wave and countless spiritual wave mists. A piece of information appeared out of thin air in Lin Yi's mind. True destiny: perseverance, immortal soul, indestructible forever. The moment he received this information, Lin Yi knew that his guess was correct. My guess is true. Every true destiny in the other spirit's scripture seems to be moving towards breaking free from its constraints. I have a boundless true destiny that can ignore any material and energy, even the constraints of time and space. But the only weakness is in the spirit, soul, or mind. The fourth true destiny exists to make up for this last defect. That is to say, from now on, I will no longer have weaknesses. No matter what kind of attack, it will not work on me. I have truly entered the bug-level existence. The only problem is that these can also must rely on the consumption of spiritual waves. As long as I lose my spiritual waves, all my true life abilities will disappear and I will become an ordinary warrior. Although the current true life has increased 3 times based on the third true life. But the increase in true life will inevitably lead to more consumption for me. The problem of spiritual waves may be solved in the future. The Yiling Jing will not leave such a huge problem. Thinking of this, Lin Yi was thoughtful. He could see that the Yiling Jing in his spiritual world had turned a new page again, but it was hazy and nothing could be seen. He knew that it would take more weird power to make it appear. Take a deep breath, Lin Yi's eyes showed a trace of solemnity. Then I will be more confident next. In fact, Lin Yi had some doubts about the monster in the deepest part of the biological laboratory. The monster seemed to have a strong mental attack ability. Just a phantom left on the 1,000 paper cranes almost killed him, which shows the power and weirdness of the other party. Although he planned to explore the specific situation in the depths of the biological laboratory and the information that could be used. But he didn't intend to appear in front of the mysterious boss. He only planned to observe carefully and collect information in the corner where that thing couldn't notice. But now that he had the fourth true destiny, it was different. He even had a bold idea in his heart. Time passed by minute, and Lin Yi finally came to the deepest part of the biological laboratory. Outside a huge laboratory hall, the gate valve here had long been broken, and it became a dragon's den and tiger's den composed entirely of black tentacles. The laboratory was covered with all kinds of strange tentacles from the walls, the ground, and the ceiling. The whole laboratory became as terrifying as a nest in another world. But Lin Yi didn't walk into it this time. He chose to sink directly into the ground, and he didn't step directly into this strange nest. At this time, his eyes were shining with the light of the true destiny, observing the changes in the laboratory above. The laboratory was wrapped in thick concrete. The most peculiar thing was that a layer of mysterious metal film was attached to the outer wall of the concrete here. This metal film was covered with countless mysterious patterns and brilliance. At this time, it was filled with a kind of space-time power, isolating the inside and outside. Lin Yi immediately noticed the problem. The power of this space-time barrier was the same as the power on the ground. Good guy, this formation has been set up long ago, which means that there are precautions in advance. Thinking of this, Lin Yi's eyes fell on a black giant egg in the laboratory. Countless liquids continued to leak out from the holes inside the giant egg. These liquids quickly merged into the black biological tissue. It was input into every corner along the pipes in the biological tissue. Lin Yi's eyes could see that the entire central laboratory was filled with a strange atmosphere, and even gradually formed a kind of spatial fluctuation. This reminded Lin Yi of something, strange illusion. That is to say, the existence in this giant egg is a boss who can create a strange illusion. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he thought, this is the formation process of the strange illusion. Just as he was thinking, the existence in the giant egg seemed to sense something. A pair of dark eyes looked down at the ground and met Lin Yi's eyes. An unprecedented mental storm instantly reached Lin Yi's mind. But at the same time, Lin Yi activated the true destiny and perseverance. In an instant, a green light enveloped Lin Yi's spiritual world. Lin Yi's spirit and two souls seemed to have risen to an unknown height at this moment. He felt that his mind was as calm as a mirror. All the thoughts in his mind appeared clearly in this mirror. There were even some thoughts that he himself was not aware of, but now he could see them clearly. The storm that appeared out of thin air in the spiritual world was also seen clearly by Lin Yi. It was a wonderful dark wave, containing the power to mobilize all mental chaos. But after this power enveloped Lin Yi's spiritual world, it could not produce any effect. At this time, Lin Yi's spiritual world seemed to not exist at the level of this spiritual storm, and his spirit had entered a state that was unfathomable and untouchable. Lin Yi looked at this spiritual storm, and the devouring thief soul among the two souls also released a soul power. The soul power instantly turned into dozens of sharp thorns. Under Lin Yi's control, it stabbed at dozens of points in this spiritual storm. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 480. Bang, 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 bang. A series of crisp and muffled sounds sounded, and the mental storm seemed to be poked in the weak spot, and it was completely shattered like glass. After the mental storm was shattered, the terrifying existence in the giant egg was also slightly stunned, and there was a trace of doubt in his dark and cold eyes. He was very surprised that his power was broken, and it was such a weak mental power. This was a strange existence with high intelligence, and his eyes looked deeply at Lin Yi. Lin Yi also looked at it quietly, without provoking it. Carefully looking at it and all its information, Zhenming Daija was analyzing it bit by bit. However, because the level of this strange existence was too high, his spiritual waves were being consumed rapidly. In about 30 seconds, Lin Yi consumed about half of his spiritual waves. In this process, the strange boss continued to attack him at the spiritual level. And the methods were different, some were directly mental storms. There were also strange fluctuations that triggered negative emotions, and mysterious hallucinations. But under the true destiny perseverance, all these attacks ended in failure. Lin Yi also deeply felt the horror of true destiny perseverance. This is a kind of completely ignoring all spiritual influences and ensuring absolute autonomy. At the same time, it gave him an unimaginable perspective at the spiritual level. In his eyes, there is no secret in any spiritual attack. As long as he takes a look, he will understand what this attack does. At this time, after collecting all the information, he turned around and headed away from the laboratory. Soon he chose a safe room and walked in. Only then did he release the power of true destiny and began to quickly restore his spiritual waves and essence. At the same time, he sorted out everything he observed through the true destiny Daija and thought about how to design the next thing. About half an hour later, Lin Yi recovered to his peak state and also had a comprehensive plan. If everything goes well, he will at least pay some price. Thinking of this, Lin Yi smiled coldly and left here quickly. At this time, the people on the ground had been waiting for nearly 10 hours, and even the deputy director of the headquarters was a little worried. This guy wouldn't run away when he saw that things were not going well. But there is a space-time barrier underground, how could he run away? Just when everyone was getting impatient, Lin Yi walked out of the exit of the basement. He looked calm and composed, and there didn't seem to be any fighting. Looking at Lin Yi walking out calmly, everyone's eyes fell on him. The deputy director's voice was a little cold and said, "You look like you have gained something. Have you completed all 3 tasks?" Hearing the deputy director's question, Lin Yi showed a trace of confidence on his face. "Of course, I have completed these questions and have clear answers." Hearing Lin Yi's words, everyone's eyes fell on him and pricked up their ears. The deputy director looked at him expressionlessly and mysteriously. "You say?" A smile appeared at the corner of Lin Yi's mouth, and he said slowly. "The specific situation is as follows. In the center of the biological laboratory, an unknown strange existence appeared. After it appeared, it used a mysterious stone-like object to open a channel connecting to the other world. A strange black liquid is constantly drawn out from the other world. This liquid will grow and spread on any material such as walls, floors, ceilings, etc. After growing, the inside of the biological laboratory has become a huge nest. All areas covered by biological tissues will grow some aggressive tentacles. The power of each of these tentacles can reach the peak level of penetration. Almost one such tentacle appears every meter or so. And some black eggs will grow in many places in this nest. Those black eggs will give birth to strange existences with strong aggressiveness. These strange beings are basically at the level of human immortals. But there are also ghost immortals among them. And all the people in the laboratory have disappeared. According to my inference, they have either been killed and devoured by these strange beings, or they have been transformed into strange beings by these strange forces. When I went deep into the deepest part of the biological laboratory, I carefully observed the mysterious boss-level monster. It is in a huge black egg. For some reason, it seems that it cannot be fully activated. If we want to solve the trouble here, now is the most appropriate time. Once we wait for the other party to completely adapt to the Red Lotus realm, I am afraid we will face a very huge danger. There is another thing. I got something left by the director of this biological laboratory, Lei Kongtong." As he said this, Lin Yi took out a red paper crane from his arms. A trace of essence was injected into it, and instantly an illusory picture rose on the paper crane. This picture records the mysterious boss-level weird existence I just mentioned. Dr. Lei Kongtong also explained this weird existence. But you need to be careful when watching. This strange existence seems to be able to launch a spiritual attack on the viewers through the phantom image left behind. At this point, Lin Yi stopped talking. He just looked at the deputy director quietly. At this time, the deputy director narrowed his eyes, looked at the picture on the red paper crane, and listened to what Dr. Lei Kongtong said. The picture changed quickly, and a black giant egg appeared. At the same time, a pair of dark eyes appeared in the black giant egg, looking at the deputy director. After hearing Lin Yi's words, MRS rose and the other two all turned their eyes away quickly. Only the deputy director was skilled and bold, and calmly looked at the picture on the paper crane. But he also raised a little vigilance vaguely, secretly operating his own power to deal with any possible danger. When his eyes saw the black eyes, he suddenly felt an inexplicable force descending into his spiritual world out of thin air. The black cloud pressed down on the city and was about to be destroyed. At this moment, he seemed to feel a mysterious magic sound, answering in his mind. "Die, commit suicide, self-destruct." The voice told him to die. The deputy director had a cold expression on his face, and suddenly burst out a faint rebuke. "Hey!" At the moment his voice burst out, a circle of faint spiritual light flashed on his body.